All right, we have a geometry problem below here. It says to reflect triangle ABC given y equals -x. So I recommend that you rewrite the rules so that you remember them and that you think them through so that you know what to do. So y equals x. Think about it. Y equals x. So let's rewrite the rule. And we're going to make y. We're going to put it in the x spot. Let me leave some room there. So we have one other thing we have to do. And then x is going to be in the y spot. But there's one more thing here. It's a -x. Now, when you look at this rule, I do not want you to think negative because that will mess you up. I want you to think of that in this scenario for the rule as a change y and change x. So what we're going to do with those coordinates for the pre-image is we're going to flip the y and the x coordinates, those numbers, and then we're going to change the sign. So, to keep from making mistakes, to reduce that cognitive load, do one thing at a time. So first, let's flip the numbers. Let's flip the y and the x for each one of those. Just flip them. It's going to get real easy and you're not going to have to think of too many things at one time. So 4 and 2 becomes 2 and 4. 4 and 8 will become 8 and 4. And 2 and 3 will become 3 and 2. So what we've just done is we've flipped the coordinates. Now let's do the next thing. We need to change the sign for each one. So -4 becomes +4, which it already is. When we just move the numbers over until we put a negative sign, it's a positive. So -4 becomes +4, but a +2 here on the pre-image becomes a, let's put it in pink, a -2. We changed the sign. On B, -4 becomes +4. It's already +4. -8 becomes +8. So we don't have to do anything on that one. Now let's go to C. +2 becomes -2. And -3 becomes +3. So you can see we didn't really have to do much, but we focused on one thing. We focused only on the change, took our time to make sure that we changed each one. So now we're done with change. We now have the coordinates for the pre-image, which is the triangle above. And now we have the new coordinates for the image. Let's do this, what happened to that? The image, and we can graph those coordinates, and that will reflect over the diagonal. So before we graph, we need to think about, well, we need a diagonal line of reflection. So the last thing I want you to do once you get those beautiful coordinates, so easy, we're going to look again at this x. We have a -x. Now, this isn't literal, but it's a way to remember where to draw that diagonal. So when I see negative, I'm going to write, now I'm going to go to the left side for the negative x. And I'm going to draw the diagonal, straight diagonal from that corner to the other corner. There we go. Let me fix that a little bit. So that shape ABC, that triangle ABC, is going to reflect using those coordinates that you just did, easy peasy, lemon squeezy. And we're going to move that triangle. It's going to flip over and reflect on the other side of that diagonal. Now, that's a negative x. But let's say, just for this situation here, let's say that it was positive x. And of course we'd have new coordinates. They would look a little different because we wouldn't have a change. But if it was a positive x, let's kind of hide that negative there. Let's say it's positive x. If you were to get a positive x, that line of reflection will be different. So what I would recommend, this is how I remember it. For positive, we always want to be right. Makes us feel good. It's positive. So on the right side of the graph, that's where we're going to start our line of reflection. Let's get that here. That's if it's a positive x. And that is how you reflect y equals x, or y equals negative x. Now, let's go ahead and take that same scenario, same triangle, same coordinates, but we're going to change one little thing. In this problem, we'll read the problem. I'm going to keep that line of reflection that we ended with before. We had the line of reflection here on the right. Let me bring that down. So I'm going to keep what we left on the last one. When that line of reflection is at the right here, at the top right, starts at the top right, this is the scenario that we have. This is the problem. Reflect, we've got that diagonal line, reflect triangle ABC, given y equals x. Notice there is no negative sign. That is the diagonal that starts at the right side there, the top of the right side, and works its way diagonal. So again, let's go ahead and write that rule. So y equals x. Again, y is in the x. But there is no negative, so we're not going to change y. And we're not going to change x. So the only thing you do is we take the numbers as is, -4, +2, like literally as is, because there is no change. No negative, no change. All we're going to do is flip those coordinates. Easy peasy, lemon squeezy. So let's flip them. We have -4, +2, so we're going to put +2, -4. The next one, -4, -8, so we're going to go -8, -4 as is. And then C, +2, -3, so -3, +2. Now you have coordinates for the image prime. Use those coordinates to graph your image, and that image there will reflect over that line of reflection. But this one is going to overlap, because you notice the A is on this side of the line and it's got to flip over here, right? And the C and B are going to have to flip that direction on the line. So don't let that throw you off. So let's see what that looks like. On the other scenario that we had, it would have easily flipped from one side to the other, and it wouldn't have thrown you off. But this tends to throw people off. So let's take a look. Let's go ahead and graph. So A prime is to -4. So we're going to go 2 and then down to -4 down here. So 2, -4 is right there. Oh. Yep, that's for A. I thought I was saying that was C. That threw me off for a second. All right, so that's A. So here your A. All right. So this point here flipped over, reflected over that line. Now, let's do B. -8, -4. So we have -8, -4. So that meets right here. Okay, and that is your B. Now, let's do C. -3, +2. So negative, let's get that eraser out of the way. So a -3 and a +2 right there. And they will meet right here. And that's C prime. Let's go ahead and erase our little guides. All right, now let's go ahead and connect them. Connect this to this. Oops, let's fix that line. Yep, well, I'll fix it later. Then this. Hi, what's happening here? This to this. And that's not, there we go. This to this. And this to this. Let's fix those lines. This little guy, they're overlapping pretty close, so it's going to be hard for me to grab it. There we go. Move that up there. There we've got that reflection over that diagonal. So the reflections over the diagonal are very interesting looking. When you look at a graph and you see a reflection like this and they ask you which reflection it is, they're definitely a little more challenging to see because they can look like